Good morning. It's 8:41 on News Talk 99.7 WNTK, WNTK.com, News Talk 98.9, and 1490 WUVR. John Harper, Jim McKay, the WNTK Morning Show with the new mayor of the City of Claremont, James Neilsen IV. Mr. Mayor-elect, good morning. Congratulations. Welcome back to WNTK.
Thank you very much.
Are you surprised?
Call me the new old mayor.
The new old mayor. That's right. Yeah, it's a deja vu all over again, right?
Yes, it is.
So what's different? What's going to be different this time?
Good question. I mean, again, the primary issue on everyone's mind is how do we lower the taxes? So, I mean, I'll be working with Mr. Sandegate to try to help streamline that budget as much as we can. But again, the infrastructure to the city has to continue to go on, and whatever the school system can do in the education process, because education and infrastructure are two of the major components that businesses look at when they're looking to locate. One of the suggestions I did get from a number of people was maybe that if we were to have some kind of community group that would meet with businesses that were successful in Claremont and find out what it is that drew them here and what it is that they think we ought to focus on. So, maybe we need a focus group that draws that out of the business community.
That's an interesting idea. As you know, Governor Lynch has come to Claremont and has used Claremont as an example of a community that has turned itself around, and he started using that example right after the dedicated the entire mill project and the Common Man, and since then there have been other examples of Claremont being this destination.
Let's weigh that against two other things. One, you got Lowe's that just went out, and I realized that was a regional decision. I mean, Manchester lost their Lowe's, and I think it was Bedford or I think it was Bedford lost theirs. So it wasn't just Claremont itself. And then you have the mill project that was supposed to have condos that has yet to be developed. So, there's been a little bit of a stall. You could blame it on the economy. You can blame it on other things. I think a draw can be, and what I've asked the councilors that are still seated to do is whether you, and the citizens, whether you support the bond for the new community center that's going to be built. The bond is passed, and we need to get behind that project and make it one of the, shining lights of Claremont that hopefully, again, will draw business. But I think the other thing we need to do between the city and the school is we need to see how we can coordinate together, because it's not like Manchester where the school is just another department of the city run by the mayor and the selectmen. Here in Claremont, the school has its own budget and its own board, and the city has its own councilman. So sometimes the two don't communicate very well, and you end up fighting over the same dollar. And I just think there needs to be greater cooperation between the two of us.
And again, we've seen those difficulties between the school board and the city council, and communication issues as well that I'm sure you will address. Jim Neilsen is returning to his old job as the mayor of Claremont, winning by a handful of votes, 586 to 547 over Deborah Cutts. He is the mayor-elect in the city of Claremont. We had State Senator Bob Odell on this morning, and we asked one more time the status of any type of monies coming from the state to help assist Stevens High School in the rebuilding effort, and all of that money, unfortunately, is off the table, and that is a major concern that I know you have going forward.
It is, because without state assistance, I don't know how the city. One, they couldn't afford. I think that the peg on a new high school, complete new, was like $48 million, but just to take the current high school that they had and do an addition, do the renovations that they wanted to, was a $23 million bond. The burden on a $23 million bond is just way beyond the ability of the citizens of Claremont at this point, without some kind of state assistance. So if that's totally off the table, then I guess we have to look at other ways to make the facilities that we have work. And my belief is people used to learn in a one-room schoolhouse, and I know when I was at Stevens, the truck traffic didn't keep me from getting a good education. The fact that there were 25 students in the classroom didn't keep me from getting a good education, and so, maybe we need to just make do with what we have and concentrate on parent involvement and teacher involvement in the lives of these students.
Have you had an opportunity to speak with Dr. McGoodwin, who is the new superintendent of schools?
I have not. I haven't met the gentleman. I've read a few articles in the paper that were written about him, but I haven't met him. I do understand that he has gone back pretty strong to the Claremont School Board, saying that there has to be some change. So whether he'll get the support from the school board or whether they'll just decide to send him down the road and start over with a new superintendent that will bend to their wishes, I don't know. Hopefully he has enough backbone to stand up for what he thinks right, and maybe we'll get some school board members that will support him and move down the road.
Jim Neilsen is the mayor-elect of the City of Claremont, our guest this morning on WNTK WUVR. Yesterday when we had Deb Cutts on the radio, she alluded to the fact that there have been some conversations. I don't know if you're privy to them or have heard anything. There have been some conversations with some retailers to go into the old Lowe's property. Do you know anything about that?
I do not. I have not heard a thing about it.
It would not make sense to put the community center over there because of the loss of the tax base.
Well, I think the other thing you have to look at, one of the reasons for the community center being located where it was to give access to people that were within walking distance downtown, but also, I really think this is going to be an asset for the school-age children. I think we're looking at our middle schoolers and our high schoolers as the future of Claremont. And so when the high schoolers are looking to do their physical education, they're already walking down to Monadnock Park, which is across the street. But now they'll have the access of having a pool facility that's just down the street. I mean, they already bus students from Stevens down to the Sugar River Tech to go to classes. So why wouldn't you bus them down there to take PE at your new community center? Mm-hmm. They'll have weight access. They'll have an indoor running track. They'll have there's 2 pools that'll be in there. So I just think that all in all, if we're going to develop the PE programs in both the middle school and the high school, I think that asset fits right in there.
You're looking at a lot of change in the city of Claremont. It has been our experience, just holding up a mirror to the issues in Claremont, that it's a city that doesn't like to change. How do you think you're going to be accepted?
Well, maybe we can do it slowly, like that frog in the boiling pot, where you just turn the water up and get it a little hotter, a little bit at a time. I'm not for drastic change, but change has to come. But maybe it'll be gradual enough that over the 2-year term, people will be able to look at the beginning and the end and say, yeah, things did change, but it won't be so drastic that it shocks everyone.
What's your relationship with Guy Santagate?
I think we have a great relationship. He and I, we seem to understand economics, so we can sort of speak in half sentences to each other. And, he's a smart man, and I look forward to having some dialogue with him on, what he thinks we can do. He's a very strong advocate for the state doing something about solving the tax problem in this state of New Hampshire without relying solely on real estate taxes on the property owner. And, it's got to happen at the state level. And somehow, some way, and it probably won't happen in this 2 years, but somehow, some way, someone's got to step forward and pass a broad-based sales tax throughout the state, lower than our surrounding states, maybe at 3%, and do the correct allocation of how those funds are going to reduce property taxes. But we've got to spread this burden around. They can't just continue to sit on the shoulders of the property owner.
You said the word tax. Only in New Hampshire is a 3-letter word, a 4-letter word when you stop to think about it. Jim Neilsen is the mayor-elect of Claremont. When we had you on on Monday morning here on WNTK, we were talking about salaries of the department heads in the city of Claremont. We also looked at Mr. Sandagate's salary as well. If I'm a department head in Claremont, do I have to be worried now?
Here's the question, because I asked a few people if they thought, after you posed that question to me, I asked a few people if they thought Guy Sandagate was getting too much salary. I think it's all relative, but I think we all have to look at, if someone's got a graded position and the top salary in that position is $90,000 or $95,000. There has to be a point at which the value of the person in that job, stops. There's got to be a ceiling somewhere. You can't just keep adding 3 or 3.5% every year. At some point, the value of what that person's doing in that position ceases. And if you said to a department head, the top you'll ever make here is $90,000. That's it. That's the most you can make. If they're not satisfied with that and they think they can make $110,000 or $120,000 in some other community, well then, go. Go apply for that job and go get it. But I think we have to realize that certain jobs have a certain value.
I'll play devil. Let me just play devil's advocate to that point, and if you just say, well, okay, if you can make more money in fill-in-the-blank community, Hanover, go ahead, go to Hanover. But what about losing that talent pool in Claremont?
Well, I think a number of citizens would say that if someone wants to leave a job where they're making $90,000 to go somewhere else, there's probably enough talent in Claremont for someone to step in and do that job and start. Let's say the low level at that entry level is $70,000 or $75,000, and maybe they work back through the ranks. I'm not saying that we just get rid of qualified, educated, seasoned department heads. I'm just saying to expect that your salary is going to continue to grow. How do you support that? I guess is my question. How do you support it? And is it fair? Is it fair to keep your 9 department heads and yet lay off at the lower level? So you take the poor individual that's making maybe $30,000, $35,000, you lay off 7 of those, and you don't do anything to the department heads. They still get their $90,000 with their 3.5 with all their bennies. I mean, how does that seem fair to the person that's losing their job at the low end?
Understand. Jim Neilsen is the mayor-elect of the City of Claremont. Congratulations again, Mr. Neilsen. We would like to make you a regular part of the WNTK Morning Show once you get in office. It's a great way to stay in touch with the people of Claremont with, a weekly or a bi-weekly report, but we would like to make you a member of our morning team here on WNTK, and we'll talk more about that down the road. But we appreciate your time again this morning, and congratulations.
You're welcome very much, and tell Jim I said hello.